This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine.
Welcome to Strangers No More, where all people are loved with the love of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. In the household of faith, there are to be no strangers, no foreigners, no rich and poor, no outside others. As fellow citizens with the saints, we are invited to change the world for the better, from the inside out, one person, one family, one neighborhood at a time.
Thank you, Andrew. Hi, welcome to Strangers No More. I'm Maggie Slighte, and this is a special episode of recapping General Conference. General Conference, April 2021, which was, do you know which annual conference we're on now, Andrew?
100 and
You always seem to
something or
have
other.
that up.
91.
I can find it.
191.
Yay! So we're 191st Annual General Conference. And this is our kind of our recap and our reaction. So I don't know. I'm gonna actually let Dennis start us off a little bit, because I know that both Dennis and I were going, what?
Yeah,
some of the talks.
You know, being a convert, it's like, I have to say, the first general conference I watched was in October 2017. And I had a hard time resonating with it because I still didn't understand the first presidency of this, the first councilman to that, you know, Moroni or macaroni this, or, you know, I just didn't get it. But this one, so, you know, studying them now, I keep saying every 6 months, oh my gosh, that was on fire. Well, this one was like a blizzard. This one was amazing. And one of my—
How did you go from fire to blizzard? I'm not sure that metaphor.
Yeah,
I'm not
I was
sure
like,
how...
is that bad?
You mixed that metaphor.
Wait a minute. So it's on fire, but now it's even better. So it turns
was
to
an
blizzard.
explosion of a star. I'm lost for words. Like, you're on a Hollywood movie set and you're like, it's a wrap. That was amazing. So I guess that's better than blizzard. Yeah, you're right. I don't like blizzard. So, but one of the things that resonated with me, and it was, it received over 1,200 likes on my Instagram account, was holy cows. When, so I had the opportunity to meet Elder Ballard back in October 2019, and I snuck a photo of him because I had front row tickets to see him at a steak center in Boston. And I know I'm not supposed to take photos, but I ended up posting it, but I cropped it so much you couldn't tell where it was. But I talked about his message of when he was talking about our single brothers and sisters. And he said that over 50% of the church members are single. And I just went, wow, ding, ding, ding. I have a huge moment.
You're not the only one that really resonated with Elder Ballard's message. Andrew, can you put up the slide, please?
I gotta switch to the right one. While I'm doing that, it's not just his message on General Conference. It was also on Friday at the Leadership Conference. If you knew, they announced some new changes to the handbook that applied to what he's talking about as well. And some of those previously a single person could not be a part of the bishopric. That is changed now. No, they still can't be a bishop, but they can be one of the counselors. They can serve in any of those stations. They can even serve as high counselors to a stake president, and be stake president counselors as well. It's a big move. It's, for many years, the culture has and the policies of the church have restricted single members from serving in certain capacities, and now that is not the case.
That's true. And this was part of President Russell Ballard's message. Let us call upon our members who are single to serve, lift, and teach. Disregard old notions and ideas that have sometimes unintentionally contributed to their feelings of loneliness and that they do not belong or cannot serve. And I was just, when he said that unintentionally may have unintentionally contributed to their feelings of not belonging, I was like, did he watch our show? Did he read our website?
Well,
That was my initial
it's such
reaction.
an amazing new change in the church. I look at my friends who are single for whatever reason. Sometimes it's because they're homosexual. Sometimes it's because they are hard to date. so they're but I have those friends, and they you get to a point in your life, you go on your mission, or you do, and you feel like you're involved and everything else, and then you hit adult life, and you're like you can be a Sunday school teacher, you can do Cub
Family
Scout
history.
master, you can do family history, and I'm not knocking any of those, but it's limiting. Those are very important things, but it's nice to have a broader spectrum of what you can do, and I just imagine those people who, for whatever reason, probably already have something that makes them feel left out, whether it's not being married because they haven't found their spouse yet, or that they've chosen not to find their spouse because their spouse would be of the same sex, and so they've chosen to stay anyway. And then we don't give them the opportunity to serve. Think of someone who's made that decision in their life, that you want that person to serve, like Dennis.
So, I would love to get Bradley's feedback on this, but
Yeah,
before I
that's
do,
what I
I want to say something. I just had this conversation with my stake president not too long ago, because I said I'm often told I could never serve as this or that, and he said very clearly to me that it's about prayer and prophecy, and so that if we feel that you should be serving the stake presidency, you will be serving in the stake presidency. If we feel you should be serving as a bishop, it was also said that it may be that I may have to have somebody else as like a representative, I guess, that is a husband and wife that are with me, because you're supposed to, but that was just something. So I've been told, you'll never be called as a mission president. Not that I want to serve in the stake presidency, but I'm curious about Bradley. I mean, how, growing up in the church, how have you felt about these new changes?
Yeah, so I first want to preface with something, because here's my situation. I do have some thoughts about this, and I do want to contribute those. I received the first dose of the vaccine the day before conference, and I had the worst reaction to it. I was actually only able to watch one session of conference the rest of the time, and it was the last session. The rest of the time, I was in so much pain, I didn't leave my room for 48 hours. So I'm a little bit behind.
I was the same
trying to
way.
catch up. Yeah. I was not prepared for.
You were the
that
only
to
other
happen.
person I've known who had that kind of reaction the first time.
Yeah, it was
so
really, really bad.
solidarity, brother.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not the only
You didn't
one.
get stoned like I did today when I got my first dose, and I'm like,
no, definitely not. It was very painful, and so I'm actually still catching up on a lot of the talks, because I missed most of them. I only was able to watch the very last session.
Understandable.
But I do know about this one. I heard a little bit about it, and so I do think it is really amazing that this change is happening, because prior to my mission, I had actually always wanted to serve as a seminary teacher or institute teacher. I really wanted to do something like that, and then serving my mission, I was like, wow, this is something I really love doing. I love teaching. I mean, here I am on the show doing that, but I quickly turned that down, because I knew that I couldn't unless I got married. And I think they've changed that now. I'm not quite sure when they did change that, but at the time, you had to be married in order to be a male seminary teacher. And I just knew that that was not going to happen. And if it was going to happen, I probably wouldn't be a seminary teacher for other reasons. So
oh no.
it is really meaningful to know that like we are making some changes and that there are more opportunities for me to be able to serve in the church, because it is really lonely to feel like my only callings are going to be I mean, there's no small callings, but I feel like there's not a lot of direction. There's not a lot of um, interaction with other people, and the callings that I've been given have been kind of minimal. I mean, that's also due to just being a BYU-YSA ward where they have to make up callings. But
But it also is the culture. So the
mhm,
policies, what usually happens is the culture begins changing, the policy change, and then it's even longer for the culture to truly change in this regard.
mhm,
So, but it's the first door that has to open. It has to open to get that far, but it's not going to change overnight. There are people who are going to look at people who are single for whatever reason and go, I don't know if they can relate to people who have kids, right? When really it's all about revelation, and we'll talk about that in a future episode about being one, and about the elders like govern the church through revelation. So there's a
Well,
lot to be said there. Go ahead.
and this was also actually addressed in the Elder Gong quote that I chose, that also reiterated a lot more of bringing in people that have felt like they've been not been included.
mm. Yeah,
And
we are a
that's
family-centered church, and so when you don't have quote unquote family that is what people are wanting you to have, then you do feel isolated. And I think a lot of single members are feeling that. And so I'm glad that we're kind of stepping away from that and recognizing that even though we are a family-centered
absolutely
church, you can have families in different capacities. You don't have to be married to somebody to have your own family, you know?
exactly. And families don't all look the same.
They're going to look very
Now,
different.
very. So what Elder Gong, part of Elder Gong's quote was, yet we all have something needed to contribute. Our journey to God is often found together. We belong as united community, whether confronting pandemics, storms, wildfires, droughts, or quietly meeting daily needs. We receive inspiration as we counsel together, listening to each person, including each sister and the Spirit. And I really like that, because he made a point of including the sisters.
I do like that.
Yeah. And making room in the inn for people.
Absolutely. So Bradley, getting a little bit off of what we were reacting to, you having only seen that portion of conference and yet kind of getting the reaction from your friends and your online following, how did that feel for you?
I honestly tried to step away from it a little bit, because I was seeing, even though there were many people that were really excited and things like that, there's always a large part of my following that is very critical of things, and I think that's fine. But I like to be able to experience conference first and then kind of have the critical thoughts later. And so I've kind of been avoiding social media just a little bit in that regard, because I didn't want any spoilers. But it's interesting to see the things that people pick out and what people are frustrated about. I think one of the greatest things that people consistently want time and time again is just an understanding of, if you are not a part of the population that you are talking to, it's hard for people to accept that message as genuine and sincere. If it's,
Oh,
I know
absolutely.
there was a talk on abortion and
Yeah.
things like that, and so people are just having a hard time with like, why can't we just understand that there's more nuance in the church and in the doctrine, and focus on Christ, because that's not nuance. that's something that we can all agree on. But
Well, thank you for that. Andrew, I want to get your responses to General Conference. What stuck out for you?
Well, Elder Oak's talk on this, that really stood out to me. I was really glad because it's the first time a vocalization has ever come that it's okay to be part of a political party or a political movement that you don't 100% agree with morally for whatever reason, and that you never will, that if you truly look at everything, you're never gonna find a group that checks every box. There's always going to be something, right? And it's okay to be able to do that, and it's okay to move back and forth between political parties. I grew up in Utah, and in Utah, even my father would say things like, "You cannot be a good Mormon, or and be a Democrat." And a Democrat, I actually am not aligned to any party. I hate them. I loathe the political parties, and not because of the original stance of either one of them. In fact, the original Republican Party and even many Republicans, and the original Democratic Party and many Democrats throughout the years, and even recently, I admire a lot of those people. But what they have become now, these machines of propaganda towards one side or the other, and I struggle with that. So it's really good to have someone come up and say it's okay to have these thoughts on morality that span multiple parties and multiple ideals. So that was an important talk to me, and I'm glad it was vocalized. I think a lot of people struggled with that talk because it's a worldwide church, and he's like, why are we talking about the U.S. Constitution? But I think there has been some key movements across the world that it applied to. And if you really reread the talk, he references the U.S. Constitution, and he references that because that's his background. That's where he's come from.
He said, Andrew, I am doing this because of my experience of being a Supreme Court judge for so many years, or being in this for being a lawyer for X number of years. I liked that. And just,
but then he comes up and he goes and he just talks about the principles that are true. And the rest of the talk is about the principles, right? And that's what he talked about. So leading to Elder Bednar's talk about principles. One of my favorite talks, one of the best talks. I love Elder Bednar's talks. One of the best talks of the entire conference was Elder Bednar's talk about principles, and how the quote from Joseph Smith, how do you keep people in Nauvoo from having so many problems? He's, I teach them correct principles and let them govern themselves. And I think the church culture historically has taken a lot of things that we like. I've found this one thing works for me, and maybe I even find two other people in my ward that this works really well, and we're having success at it, with something we might call a best practice at work. But then now it becomes how I judge other people if they're doing that or not, right? Now it's because I do it this way and I look at someone else not doing it that way. I go, oh, are they really doing it then? You know what I mean? And I love the twist that Elder Bednar put on it. It's like, we teach them correct principles. And then if you know the principle, the rule, what if you want to call it, will manifest itself. So for yourself.
Thank you, Andrew. Dennis, did you have any more that you wanted to share about the talks that you really liked?
Well, I just wanted to go back to what Andrew said is a lot of people, a lot of people don't realize, or I didn't even realize, I voted for a member of the church for president before I even knew he was Mormon. And it's like, and I posted that on Facebook like 100 years ago when he ran and was running for president. And I was blasted by the gay community saying, how dare you vote Republican? But and then I was unfriended and it went viral and I had to delete it because it was just being shared like 1,000 times. But I voted for Mitt Romney back in the 2008 or whenever, what 2006, I don't remember, because I felt the properties of his family values. I resonated something with him, and I don't know if it was preparing me to be a member of the church or not, but without even realizing it, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I voted for a Mormon. Now, had I would have known he was a Mormon, who knows? I probably would have still voted for him. But I too do not resonate. I do not, I'm a registered independent because I vote for, again, the beliefs of who I'm voting for. I always prayerfully consider who, just like Joseph Smith was told, or told people, we're not going to tell you who to vote for. We're going to ask you to prayerfully consider who you think should be in office.
Well, sorry, I loved President Ug's talk also, but I'm one of those. They just loaded up the gospel library full of all of the transcripts, and literally tonight I'm like a kid at Christmas, opening them up and studying them and going through and highlighting them and listening to them. That's just who I am. I'm that person. I'm that nerd. So I have some first impressions, but those are never the impressions that are going to end up sticking with me. It seems to me like I've always, a couple of months after General Conference, I've always got new favorite talks. Does anybody else experience that?
Oh, yeah.
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 I mean, when I'm asked to teach at Elders Quorum, or when I'm, asked to share my thoughts, people are saying, he's going to talk about Elder Oaks again. But that's what comes to me through prayer. And the last talk I gave was just after the elections in November. And I talked about Elder Oaks, and it had to do with being political. And it just created a lot of discussion within the Elders Quorum. And I was told that is when you received revelation to talk about that, because you got other people to engage. The impressions were higher.
Well, Andrew, you look like you have something right on the tip of your tongue.
No, I just, it's just one of those things. No matter which conference it is, it's like you can't not mention Elder Holland's talks. Basically, when Elder Holland speaks, just grab that tissue box and pull it close, and know that you're going to have a blizzard come over you that will overwhelm you. Sorry, Dennis, I just thought I'd validate your metaphor by bringing it in and talking about how it overwhelms. I'm sorry, I was kidding around. But yeah, so, and his talk was so powerful. One of the quotes I want to read from it, it's a full paragraph, so give me a second. It says, "In too many instances, otherwise faithful men, women, and even children can be guilty of speaking unkindly, even destructively, to those whom they may well be sealed by a holy ordinance to the temple." In other words, their family. "Everyone has the right to be loved, to feel peaceful, and to find safety at home. Please, may we try to maintain that environment there. The promise of being a peacemaker is that you will have the Holy Ghost for your constant companion, and blessings will flow to you without compulsory means forever. No one can employ a sharp tongue or unkind words and still sing the song of redeeming love."
Thank you so much for reminding us of Elder Holland's powerful words. They, even when you just read them right now, it just like right down to my toes.
We could probably do an episode on Holland talks.
we could do a whole series of podcasts on Holland talks.
They're some of the most well-written, theatrical, moving, doctrinally sound. I mean, there's just so much good about Holland talks.
And then there's the resonance in which it's delivered.
Oh yeah. His you call it a performance, but it's his just bearing his heart to you at General Conference every 6 months. And not that others don't. And he's not necessarily my favorite, but man, I definitely got to see the Holland talks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, is there anything more that you wanted to add, Bradley?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No.
Dennis?
I think I'm good. I could talk
I'm going to
forever,
add,
but-
go ahead and read. If
Yeah.
you haven't
Go ahead and
missed
read
it, if you watched it, you will find something else that you didn't get the first time. If you did what I did and fell asleep right when President Nelson was talking in the first session on Sunday, which everyone has said is just one of the most amazing talks ever, and I still haven't read it. I woke up and my wife's like, did you hear that? I'm like, hear what? And I'm like, I
Oh,
totally
no.
missed it. So if you're like me, go back. We have them for you. If you don't know how, reach out to us on YouTube, Facebook. We'll teach you how to find them on Gospel Library or download the app, because they're amazing. So,
And I will tell you that, yes, I have the Gospel Library app and I download the videos and the audio. What I also do is on my phone, I open my browser and I go to the church's website and I download the audio from the browser on the website so that it loads it onto my phone as a song. And the reason I do that is so that I can put it on shuffle and ask the Holy Spirit to let me know what I need to listen to. So,
or Apple.
I'm
just kidding around.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us for this special episode, unwrapping Spring 2021 General Conference. And we look forward to seeing you at our next weekly episode. Thank you, and have a great. Yeah, I did.
Hey, we're gonna
I
cut.
lost it completely. Gone.
Just jump
Boom.
in with your normal ending.
It's gone. I don't have it.
What is it? It is. Thank you. Well, geez, I never have to remember it. We love you, and so does God.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us. Wow, geez.
Oh, here it is. Sorry. She put it, I had my ministering sister help me. And she put it in the wrong place. Thank you so much for joining us. If you enjoyed this, please don't be shy, hit the like button and share it. We hope that your week ahead is full of the love and light of Jesus Christ. We love you, and so does God.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.